In Norway, ferry boats and coastal steamers provide regular passenger services along the fjords. The ferries are an essential part of the transport system, and the journey by sea from Newcastle to Bergen is almost as simple as a ferry crossing. All cars are fitted with slings and are quickly lifted on board and stowed away for the journey across the North Sea. Our shooting brake is hoisted aboard and stowed away in the hold with the rest. Bergen is a thriving seaport, and we arrived on a typical day. Tradition has it that it nearly always rains in Bergen. Every day, and particularly on nice days, the open-air market on the quayside is a bustling centre of activity. The fishing fleet packs tightly into the harbour behind the market. The freshest fish are sold by the fishermen themselves, and some of the fish are even sold alive. The fish are weighed on scales which haven't changed in style since Roman times. Some of the fish looks like meat. Next to the fish market is the flower and vegetable market. Norwegians make their homes gay with flowers and potted plants. Discerning housewives choose the best from the produce of an intensely cultivated hinterland. From Bergen, one could visit the very heart of the country by boat. Coastal steamers sail to the innermost reaches of the fjords, where the mountains tower above the water. But the roads are good and are rapidly being improved. Here a tunnel is being made to take a road through the mountain to replace the present one which clings to the cliff edge. The new road will be usable in the severest winter weather. Where there is a village, it is easy to pick out the painted wooden church, and the church at Øs is typical of country churches throughout Norway. As in many villages, the road passes a small jetty on a branch of the main fjord, always a busy centre of activity. At some stopping places there is no village, only an hotel and a few houses such as those at Bach, seen here in the sober colouring of a dull day. The waterfall at Steinsdal can be seen from a vantage point on the roadside. Although it is some distance from the nearest village, it is artificial and was made to attract the attention of tourists. Vinje nestles in a fold of densely wooded hills, high up above sea level. Even so, all roads lead to a landing stage, and within an hour of an early morning start, the Gudvangen ferry is reached. The boat sails from the shadow of the high mountains out into the open fjord. Here, two ferries, and later a third ferry, each from a different branch of the Norway fjord, meet in open water. They tie up alongside each other and exchange passengers and baggage for various destinations. After the exchange, we go our separate ways, and we and our fellow passengers look eagerly forward to disembarking at Kaupanga. At Kaupanga, the quayside is dominated by a huge timber store. Following a quick hop overland, there is a short crossing on one of the smallest ferries, which takes only 3 or 4 cars at a time. Now the road climbs steadily from sea level through wooded valleys alongside the rivers, bringing down the water from the mountain tops to the fjord the road has just left. As the road climbs higher, there are fewer trees and a more open landscape with impressive views to photograph. Eventually, the road climbs above the tree line and passes through the Jotunheim Mountains, the home of the giants. It is in small lakes like this in the Jotunheim Mountains that the water collects, seeming to gather strength before rushing down the valleys to the sea. On the way down, the force of the water is used to drive the turbines of hydroelectric power stations. The humblest farmhouses with turf roofs have cheap electricity from the main supply or from their own small generators. The largest hotels, such as this at Elverseta, have electric central heating systems. Electric power is invaluable to the dairy farmers who rear lovely cattle on their upland farms. arable farmland is irrigated by water sprays direct from mountain streams. There are other spectacular mountain ranges. Here at Dupasita, on the road from Elvaseta to Garanga, the valley is in the shadow of the mountains for most of each day all the year round. Even in August, streams from melting snow flow into the lake, and the surface of the lake is dotted with small ice floes. The road winds down the mountainside for 10 long miles to Merock at sea level at the head of the Garanga Fjord. The water plunges down directly and reaches the fjord in 3 short miles. In the villages, there is a little light industry carried out in small factories and workshops. These men are stacking cement blocks which have been left to dry in the sun. Later, the blocks will be used for house building, in which they are beginning to be used in place of the traditional wood. A solitary fisherman prepares his catch for the local market. A farmer spends the day wood cutting. Linesmen help to keep his household in contact with the outside world. Farming is the most important industry. In the valleys, grass is cut for hay, even on the most unpromising patches of ground. From others, only slightly better, potatoes and other root crops are harvested. Near Loen, the Kendalsberg Glacier towers above the farms, and from the valley only the edge of the ice field can be seen. In the bright sunshine, the melting ice glistens, and the glacial waterfalls combine to form a raging torrent. On Sundays, the passing traveller sees a quiet countryside with little sign of human activity. Only the water continues to work. People from the surrounding countryside travel into the villages for morning service in the churches. After service, the centre of activity moves once again to the busy quayside. Everyone congregates to welcome the new arrivals and stays to bid farewell to departing friends.